All right, want to talk about our sponsor for one breaking cardboard, SGC, uh, my personal favorite grading company. I've had a long time relationship, and that continues to this day. And words of their downfall are premature, so they are doing well. And another person doing well that's joining me on breaking cardboard. He was actually supposed to be on sooner than this, but he had a health crisis come up, and no explanation needed, right? Health is first and foremost, but glad we do have him on here, and good to see him. I think he's doing pretty well. I'll let him speak for himself. But Collector's Dream, Orlando, well, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, it's always great to be on with you, my friend. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me on.
and
Better late,
likewise.
better late than never,
Yeah, no
right?
doubt, no doubt. And it's scary stuff. I know you did the video explaining what you were going through, and I don't care who you are, I don't care how tough you are, I don't care how old you are, young, old. That's a scary situation, and but one thing we saw, right, and I'm sure you felt it from all over the world and the hobby community, right? People care about you, people love you. I include myself in that group, and if you believe in the power of prayers and that sort of thing, you had a lot of momentum. You had a lot of momentum there, and you're here. You're doing well. I'll let you speak to the specifics of that because that's obviously your business. I'm not going to, talk for you there. But I know I speak for many, Orlando, when I say glad to see you. And, I know you're part of Hobby Hotline, and we had this show scheduled, and here you are. Like you said, it doesn't matter what the date is, you're here. And that's the most important thing. So, enough of me jibber jabber, and I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, I know everybody's been so kind and thoughtful and just really so supportive. And yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and just briefly touch upon what happened. I I went to the doctor and just routine stuff and you know, uh, my doctor, went through a lot of tests that I've never had before, and wanted me to go through all of the stuff and, things like a colonoscopy and a scan of my chest and all that stuff, that really I've been healthy all my life and never really been to the hospital or had any issues at all. As people know, I walk 4 or 5 miles every other day and really was feeling fine. I had no symptoms, nothing. And during the chest X-ray, they discovered a tumor on my right lung, and it was a fairly small tumor. But they went, and this was probably maybe 5 6 months ago, and they ran some tests and some more tests, and then eventually they decided that to do one of those tests that they put some type of dye in there and they determined that I had that it was cancerous. So after lots of consultations with the doctors and stuff, they said, you got to get that removed. Even though you don't have any symptoms, it's obviously you do have lung cancer. You have a tumor in there, and when they went ahead and me, I've it's scary because I've never been, to the hospital, never had any major operation. And as the doctor kept telling me, look, this is what we got to do, and we're going to have to remove a third of your lung just to try to, make sure we remove the tumor or anything that's around the tumor. So, went to the hospital and had that procedure done. Uh, Pretty scary. Spent probably, I think it was 5 days in the hospital. And, when they do that, they kind of, it's pretty interesting how they do it because they have, I've got like 4 different holes and a big scar. So they stick in there a little camera and then so they could see, and then another area where they could do the incision, and then a tube in there so they can draw out all the blood and stuff that's coming out of there, and then of course the bigger
Yep.
incision to remove that part of the lung. And as they explained to me, it's a very delicate operation because of the it's your lungs and you're right near your heart, and they have to um, you know stitch all that up inside, outside. You could have bleeding, internal bleeding in there. You could have blood clots and so on and so on. So, not to bore you with all the details, it's pretty scary
No,
for somebody that's never been
it's
through that.
yeah, and it's a major surgery as you just pointed
Major
out,
surgery,
Orlando.
yeah.
But here's the thing: I had my grandfather who went through but he had it done in 1984, um, and it was a lot more barbaric, if you will, then. Even though the doctors are well trained, surgeons are well trained. There, they open they used to open your chest cavity up. It was a little more. Now with the arthroscopic and they could do smaller holes. Again, it's still it's still scary. It's
Yeah.
still it still can be dangerous. There's all sorts of ways that can go. So not it's not any scary. It's not any less scarier. But
Mhm.
they have streamlined and got better procedures, as we see in a lot of things, right? As technologies improve and get better, and so
Yeah.
listen, I think I speak for everybody in the hobby community that knows you, even some that don't. We're glad it went as well as could be. You're here. We're glad to see you, and anyone that watched that video, and you can go back and watch that video. If you didn't get emotional listening to you, and again, cards is what we are. That shared passion, right? But
Hmm.
we're humans first, right? And if we're not here, we can't enjoy the
Yeah.
hobby. So that stuff's got to come first. I don't care who you are, where you live, young, old, doesn't matter. And again,
Yeah.
Orlando, you had a lot of people, as you well know, you had a lot of people in your corner, rooting for you, sending all the best and well wishes possible. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're doing this show finally. But
Yep.
more importantly, I'm glad you're here. Heck with
Yeah.
the show. That's just a bonus. Uh,
Right.
you know, and speaking of shows, right? Speaking of shows, um, we got a big one. We're 60 days away, but let me get some. Let me get some comments here. Warren in Cleveland, so happy for this tonight. Yeah, I concur. Um, he also has. We're all happy to have you with us, Orlando. Hodges gave this video like, hey everyone. Um, Brent says, "Sup guys." There you go, and so glad Orlando's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah.
That can't be said enough. And you know, it's tough. It's tough, and watching that, and I've always been sensitive, but even the older I get, Orlando, I mean, I think even more so, and
Yeah.
I care about. I generally I'm a people person. I like most people. I care about them. Even if I don't know someone, right? You don't want to see somebody hurting. But when you know someone on the level we know each other, I think it even hits more home. And I was thinking
Yeah.
about you a lot. The day I knew you were the day you were going in, and I was working. I was at school. One of my kids even said, "You okay, Mister Newman?" I guess I was kind of quiet, and maybe my mind wasn't normally like kind of on point. And I said, I am, but I'm thinking about someone today that's going through something. So,
Well, I
so
truly appreciate you, John. I mean, you texted me a lot. You called me. You really stayed in touch, and just like everybody else in this community, there was so much love and support and prayers that really those are the things that kind of lift my spirits. And it's
you
been
need
it's
that.
been you need that. It's been 4 weeks now, and I'm feeling much better. Still, trying to recover. It's one of those things that I can't be doing any lifting and stuff or any twisting
That's
and stuff
okay.
because I still have stitches in there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in a couple of weeks, I'll go
No.
to the doctor, and I'll
Yeah,
still have some follow-up treatments that I need to do and stuff like that, and make sure that everything's good and clear. So it's going to take, it's a process,
yeah,
like
yeah,
anything else. But the good thing is that I'm all set for the national, and
yeah,
let's talk about the positive
yeah,
stuff. That I'll
yeah.
be
No
there,
doubt, no
got my
doubt.
flight,
I
got the hotels, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I just wanted, for those that maybe didn't know as much, or but there's good news in there too. So, and here we are. Let's talk about the National. 60 days away, Orlando. 2 months if you're scoring at home, and it's the week we circle every year on the calendar. Anyone that goes knows what we're talking about, right? I love people who tell me they're going for the first time because they'll ask me, John, what's it like? Much like I asked people, like my first one, which was the Chicago one, whatever the Chicago one. And I don't know if it was 2017 or 2018. That was actually my first one for as long as I've been in the hobby, Orlando. As crazy as that might sound, that was the first time I actually went to the national, and I asked a lot of people, like, "Hey, what to expect? Any tips? How's it? How's this going to be?" And everyone gave me great advice. That's not what I'm about, but no matter what someone tells you for the first time you go, it's even bigger than that. So whatever you're told, if you're a first timer, um, it's even bigger than that. And so I give tips to people, but I tell them, like, I you got to experience it. Me telling you about it is not going to live up to what it actually is. So experience it for yourself. I see Warren's unfortunately not going to make it, but hopefully we'll see him soon. Might be another show. I know he's at Strongsville. I got to get to a Strongsville show
Mhm.
as well. So I know you had this health thing, but under normal circumstances, kind of what is your like approach to the national? When do you listen? I know we think about it as soon as the this one's over, we're thinking about the next one. But when do you really start like, wow, when is it when it really comes to the forefront of your mind?
Well, I got to tell you, I wanted to make sure that I booked a hotel room and everything early. That's the first thing I did. So I actually did that last year. I did that around the holidays to make sure that I was all set to go. Because you can book the hotel and always cancel it later on if you can't make it.
Yeah,
So I wanted to make sure I got that, and I'm glad I did because from what I hear, it's really tough to get one of the hotels that you can walk to the National. And it's so I'm that really helps me a lot considering what I've been through, and it's still not 100%. I didn't want to be in a place where I had to walk a few miles to get there. So luckily, I got that. I do want to thank Warren. He picked me up at the airport to go to Strongsville. So thank you, Warren, for
there
that.
you go.
You've been just a great host there. So I think, as far as the national is, if you've never been there, it's something that you have to do. It's a once in a lifetime experience. It's something that, it's at first it's overwhelming when you first get there and you see, 100,000 people and that place is jam packed and all that and so many tables. I mean, you take any big show, the biggest show you've been to, and multiply it by 50. You know, that's how big it is. There's just like everything you could possibly imagine for everyone. And I don't just consider it a show, a card show. It's more like a museum because the
Yeah,
kind of stuff that you're going to see there, you won't see anywhere else. A lot of the dealers hold off on their best items to bring them to the
yeah.
national. And then you're also going to see a lot of the auction houses have huge things. I mean, last year they had the ruby red slippers from the Wizard of Oz, and they had the Babe Ruth called
I
shot
always joke with
uniform.
people, Orlando. I tell you, if you gotta have guys in suits, big guys in suits with like a 45 under their suit coat, looking at you, that could care less about the cards themselves. They're there to do a job and a service. That tells you what they might be protecting. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. I was on a podcast at my first national. It was Eric Norton's Fat Packs podcast at the time, and it's one of the inspirations for Sports Card Nation. And I sat down in the booth with him, and he's like, "John, it's your first national. It was like the fourth or fifth day in. Like, what are your thoughts?" And I'm like, it's hard to put him in there. Like, I'll just say this, and you kind of said this, Orlando. Like, if it's not here, it may not exist. Like, almost everything is here. Now, I know that's not exactly true, but almost literally, almost everything is somewhere in the building, hobby related. From the Wagner card to a high grade 52 tops mantle, it's in there. You got uniforms of Jackie Robinson, my guy, and everyone else. It's like you said, it's museum esque. While it's a show, it's a museum esque. And then you got the people, right? The saying in my hobby is the people, right?
Hmm.
The show is just so many different things in one big conglomerate ball, right? And then the cities themselves have events outside after the show. Whether in Chicago, you got Cubs games, White Sox games. I know Lollapalooza was there for a couple years at the same time. So like Ryan from Breakout Cards, who's a big music guy, like I am. I didn't go, but he went to Lollapalooza as well. So it's just you gotta really. That's a tip too. Is you gotta before you get there, you sort of got to map out what am I doing this day, this day, dinners, who am I meeting, who am I hanging out with. I mean, you can fly by the seat of your pants a little bit too, but you definitely got to have some sort of outline of what each day might look like.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Ryan because he's been my roommate the last 2 years, and we're going to be roommates again. And in that
Yeah,
Lollapalooza, it was me and him in the room, and he went to the concert, and when he comes back, two other guys come back with him, so we ended up four guys in the room. I don't mind. A
yeah,
couple of guys had slept on the couch, the other one on the floor, but it was just it's a fun time. So much to do. The food over there in Chicago is incredible. To also, I mean, they have, they're going to have so many different events. Not the trade, the trade nights. I think they're having trade nights every single night. And
yeah.
even if
Every
you
night.
don't go to the trade night, I stayed at the Lowe's, and luckily I'm staying there again. That it was an entire card show all over the halls, everywhere that you would go in the lobby, in the hallways, in the restaurants. People were buying and selling cards. I mean, it's like a 24-hour a day show, and of course, the best thing about it is the people. You get to
Yeah,
see people that you know through YouTube or you text with them, but you really don't get a chance to see them in person and and just shake their hand and sit down and have a drink and just talk. And I think that to me is probably the best thing about the national. You get to meet. I got to meet Ken Golden and all these guys out there. It's just it's a fun event, and you're going to see people that you kind of know, but you don't really get to know. And got to meet, the first time I went to Atlantic City, I got to meet John Mangini and a bunch of the other guys there. And
the best dressed guy
yeah,
at the National. I feel like I'm on the set of Miami Vice
yeah,
whenever I see him, like I'm an extra or something. Like I'm looking for Don Johnson, like
I
in the
know.
scene. I'm like, am I in the scene? Are you shooting? What am I doing here?
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
that's
I mean
him. I
it's
mean, I got to meet
yeah.
Dr. Beckett, and that was a big thrill because first time I had ever met him, and it was like meeting um, you know, I guess a superstar or a legend, and you get all nervous and sweaty, and I
He's
saw
easy
him.
to find now, and I know he'll listen to this, so I'm not breaking any news. Everyone, the cat's out of the bag. You'll find him at the singles
At the
club,
dollar boxes.
the dollar boxes. So it's not like Where's Waldo where he's hard to find. He's very easy to find, and and I'll say this, and I'm not saying this because I know him. Well, I am saying this because I know him because that's how I know this is true, right? One of the most down to earth, modest guys, and like he's a hobby icon. I think you'll agree, Orlando. Most people will, but he doesn't carry himself that way. I've
Not
been
at all.
next to him when people have come up to him, and whether it's asking for an autograph or just a conversation or telling them what he means to them, and and he almost still blushes. All these years later, like it's you can tell like he doesn't walk around with that air to him when he could legitimately, and he
Yeah.
doesn't. And I think I've learned a lesson in humility by watching him how he carries himself, and
Yeah.
and we
He's
can all
so
take
he's
a page
John.
out
He's
of
so
that book.
humble that at first you feel nervous even going up to him, but then once you start talking to him, you feel like you've known him all your life. He's just such a nice man, and wanting
Yep.
to sign whatever autograph or whatever I wanted, and just he'll sit down and talk to you, and it's just it's so good to see people that you've seen, and Dustin, the sports car dad, was there with his wife, and you know and they're really good people. Even Jeff Wilson, I was able to sit down with Jeff Wilson, and his son was there, and I spent probably 15-20 minutes just talking to him. And those are the things that what you see a lot of times on YouTube and stuff, and a lot of people may not like certain people, but once you really get to talk to them, they're just like you and I. They're really great people. They're really nice people, and they love the hobby. Whether
Yep.
you agree with whatever they say or not, they all love the hobby in their own way. But they just, they're. It's just awesome. I think that if you've never been, it's you have to do it at least once in your lifetime. And I think once you go the first time, you'll want to go every single year, just
Yeah.
like Strong's
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny you say that because probably about 3 months ago, I had not made any sort of arrangements, no airfare, no hotel. And it was a 50-50 whether I was going. And I was kind of leaning towards not going. And, you know, my wife said, "Drew, when is she doesn't know it as the national because she just goes, when is the big hobby show?" That's how she refers to it. And I told her, she goes, "You all ready? Did you do all your stuff?" And I said, her name's Sharon. I'm like, Sharon, I'm kind of leaning to not towards not going. I haven't done anything yet. And she's like, "Really? Why? How do you not go to that? Like that's your thing. Like I know what that means to you. Like." And I said, "I don't know. It's a more expensive. It's back in Chicago. It's a great city. It's a great venue, but it's just going to cost me. Things are going to be higher price because now I can't drive. I got to fly. Um, now I've waited a little bit longer, so it might cost me a little bit because of that." She goes, "Listen, you do what you want, but if you don't go, you're going to be sitting here, FOMO. You know it just as well as I know it, and you really should go if you can go. Like I don't know, like how things sell out or what all all that stuff around the show, but if you can go, you really should try because if you don't, you're probably not going to be in the best mood and fear of missing out. So tell me I'm wrong, right?" She says to me, and I thought about it, and she wasn't. And it was funny because I had told other hobbyists I'm probably leaning towards not going, and they're like, "John, you gotta go, man. How do you not go?" And blah blah blah. I'm like, I don't know. It was my wife who's not in the hobby. Like she said, she calls it the big show or the once a year big hobby show, and it was her pep talk or get off your butt and get it done. That was really what I thought she'd be like, "Okay, if you're not going, that's all right, we'll figure, we'll do something here or something." I even joked with her, Orlando. I'm like, "What do? You got a boyfriend and you already got that week planned out? Like, am I screwing?" That's our humor. That's our
Yeah, yeah,
am I screwing things up? She goes, "Yeah, you wish." She goes, "No, I know, like, you don't have to go. Listen, but I know what will happen if you don't go. So you might want to think
yeah.
about that." So, uh, funny story, and I do have to, Warren put. I got to get to Strongsville. Um, what is there? Is there one or two a year?
One. It's just one big show,
See,
and
what kills
all
me about
vintage.
that. Yeah, yeah, and I know all about the show without never being to it, so I know as much as you can know without actually never been to it. What kills me is it's fairly close to the national, and so it's
Yeah,
hard for me to pull off two of those trips. But it is drivable. I think I checked. I did check. It's like 5 hours and change. I got to do it. And what I got to
yeah,
do, Warren, and anyone else listening in Orlando, is I really got to make a point. Like I'm going this year and just get it done early, so there's no like escape hatch or something like, oh, it's too late. I'm not going to be able to do it. I really got to like cross T's and dot I's, and that's what I got to do. Everyone that's went, I've never heard a bad thing about Strongsville. That tells you a lot. I've heard more negative stuff, frankly, about the national than even Strongsville. Now more people are probably going, so you're going to have maybe more complaints based on population size, but I've never really heard anybody say anything too negative about Strongsville. So I think 2026. I think I got to make it happen and make a point to go, and it seems like a lot of fun, and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, man, and I know a couple people in the chat room said they're not going. I'm sure they'll there'd be some disappointment there. I think that's just natural. But you can't. I even say to myself, how can I go to everyone? And even this one, like I said, I was sort of on the fence. It's tough. People. It's a commitment, right? You got to take off work if you're not retired. You got to, it's not free, right? You got to get there, whether it be driving or flying. That's an expense, and that stuff adds up. So I never try to make anyone feel bad if they're not going. I mean, like, hey, I'll miss you, which is true. I'll miss anyone that doesn't go that I like, right? But everyone's situation is different. I mean, for me, I was like looking at the financials and saying, you know what I mean? So I get it. I can't criticize someone else when I was thinking along the same lines. So,
yeah.
you
Well,
know,
John, you can always find a cheap flight over there. There are cheap flights, and I always get a roommate. Because
yeah,
that helps out a lot. So at Strongsville, I room with Rocket Rick Jay, and then
yeah.
with Ryan Nolan here at the National. So there's always ways around it. Yeah, it's going to be expensive. Excuse me.
Take a drink. I put a comment up here. Warren says I can stay out at his house with me and Hodges.
Yeah,
I'm in. I might be in. That might be what tips me. I
yeah,
appreciate it. All joking aside, Warren, I might take you up on that offer. I definitely will if I go.
hmm
And I'll buy dinner. I'll do something. I'm sort of someone's nice enough to do something. I'll do something
yeah,
in return or whatnot. So I'm planning on it. I'm planning on it for 26, maybe even more so now. Thank you to Warren, and it'd be cool to hang out with those guys as well as all the other festivities, right?
yeah.
And I've heard someone say they actually enjoy Strongsville. It's a big statement. They actually enjoy They like both shows, but they like Strongsville
hmm
in some cases better than the National.
well, the good
So
thing about
that's saying something.
the good thing about Strongsville is that you're basically everyone's in one hotel, and it's right across the street. My
Yeah,
voice, sometimes because I
yeah,
got
yeah,
my
yeah.
whole thing there,
Well, let's
but
do this. Let's do
it's
this.
fun. It's
Give your
fun.
voice. Let's do this. Part of the show is opening some packs. Listen, Warren. I'm a little bit of a snore. I'm going to let you fall asleep, unless I'm in a completely different room. I'm going to let whoever's rooming with me fall asleep first. I don't think I'm as bad as I say I am, but I don't. I do.
Mhm.
I guess we all snore in some regards. So, ask Danny Black about that and Eric Norton, two
Mhm.
guys that room with on shows. All right, so I'll open a pack. You got 4 packs.
Yeah.
I got 2 packs. So I'll open one. You open two. The two I have for tonight. is 87, the year 87. We got a Tops and we got a Donruss. I'll save the Donruss for the second pack rip. So I'll open a pack. You have 4 packs. I'll let you open 2, and we'll open the last 1 and 2 packs towards the back end of the show. So here we go. Definitely buy you a beer, Warren. More than one. More than one. All right. Let me see. Am I going to win a trip to spring training 1987? I don't know. Probably not. All right. There's the gum. I'm not gonna chew this or eat it. I don't even think it's chewable no more. So anymore. All right. So I'm gonna just kind of put them up here as I Willie Upshaw, Rick Aguilera, Luis Quinones. I remember him. I remember all these guys. That's how old I am. Mike Easler, John Denny, Tim Wallach. Not great. Nothing to write home about just yet. Jeff Sellers. A lot of people remember this guy. Dennis Boyd, also known as Oil Can.
Yep, Oil Can.
Yep. Darrell Evans. Long time. I think he played like 20 years, or at least it felt like it. Mark Bailey. Longtime Tiger. Chet Lemon. Mike Flanagan. Ruben Sierra. The guy I grew up watching play second base for the Yankees. This is kind of on his second go round with him. Willie Randolph. Cliff Johnson. And I believe this is the first Hall of Famer in the pack, Jack Morris.
There you
and
go.
I know there's a few people who argue that he shouldn't be in
Jump
the
Wax
Hall
hero,
of
Mike.
And we'll finish with his battery mate, Lance Parrish there, all-star catcher. So not the greatest 87 Tops pack I've ever opened. And I've opened quite a bit then, and even a few since then. So, all right, you're up. But you go ahead.
Okay,
I know
I'm
you
gonna
got 4
open
picks.
2.
Okay. Oh, 88 Fleer. What?
88 Fleer and 88 Tops.
Yeah, 88 Fleer. I gotta say, Orlando, some people kind of bag on 88 Fleer. I have a soft spot in my heart with that red, white, and blue and the streamers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hate it as much as some people do. Let me put it that way.
So let's see what we got here. The stickers.
Yeah, I'd rather have the stickers than the spring training 87.
I got to start off with a checklist.
That seemed like every pack of 88 Fleer had at least one checklist.
Like it. I got Ernie Witt.
There you go.
Jones. Tony Pena. Dwight Evans.
Yeah.
Bob McClure. Sammy Stewart. Not looking good either on this one.
Yeah, my pack might beat yours.
Manny Trio.
Yeah.
Yvonne Calderon. Jeff Hamilton. Oh, here we got a duo here. This is Wally Joyner and Corey Snyder.
Yeah, and Wally Joyner, that time period, and Corey Snyder,
he was big.
Those were big dudes back then.
Gerald Perry, Jim Dwyer, Glenn Davis, and Mike Morgan. I think you beat me on that one. Nothing.
Yeah, I think you got another shot here, though. You got another shot with the 88 Tops.
Let's go with the 88 Tops.
Don's Field of Dreams says, great to see Orlando. Yes, indeed.
Let me get these flipped over here. So we got a all-star glossy set card you can order. I guess a set.
Yeah.
We got Tim Tuffle.
Oh yeah, Mets guy.
Yep. Jamie Quirk. Mike Stanley. Cecil Cooper. We got Glenn Davis.
Yeah, you got him in the other pack too, or I did. No,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
did.
yeah. Billy Bean. You got Fred Lynn.
There you go.
Yeah, I got to get something good out of this. Larry Anderson. Alvin Davis.
He was pretty good
Yep.
back in the day.
Bob Dernier. Marvell Wynn. Well, I'm striking out here. There you go, Nolan Ryan.
There you go. Well, that's a good way to finish that pack
Yep.
off.
Well, we got a few
Yep,
more
there you
here.
go. Oh, we got more. I
Dave,
jumped the gun.
Dave Drebecki.
With the airbrush hat, it looks like.
Yeah, 15 cards in this pack. Larry Sheets and Greg Gross. Well, at least I got a Nolan Ryan, probably one of the big ones in that set.
Yeah, Jay Average Vintage Card Collector says Ryan for the win. Yeah, no doubt. That's he's a little bit better than Jack Morris. You know,
just a little
people
bit.
argue what Jack Morris should be in the Hall. No one's arguing whether Nolan Ryan should be in the Hall of Fame. So,
well, I had 2 packs to beat you, so you know.
Yeah, but that's all right. That's okay, and we'll do this again here in about maybe 10-15 minutes. So yeah,
got 2 more to go.
You see some Stadium Club there. So
yeah,
one of my favorite brands of all time. So yeah, we're 60 days away from the National. You know, it's crazy, and really, you know, I start really thinking about it about when we get under triple digits, when we get under 100 days. I really start. And that was when, frankly, that was when I had not done anything yet. And I'm like, if I'm going, it's got to happen now, or you're out. You know what I mean? You're
right.
the point of no return. So glad to be going. It looks like I'm going to Strongsville and crashing at Warren's house. It's going to cost me a few beers, but anyone that knows me, I'll take care of dinner one night, and who knows what else. We'll figure it out. So that's one less thing to worry about. And I think driving, you know, it's doable. The older I get, I don't know about you, Orlando. The older I get, my driving stamina stinks, or gets worse, I should say. You know, the younger version of me, 7-8 hours without blinking. Now the older version of me, 2-3 hours. I'm tired. I got to stop, use the restroom. Like it's scary, you know, how that drops off your driving style. At least for me, maybe other people are still do well with that. Not me. And I make my wife mad. If I'm going on trips with my wife, we try to split up the drive time so she can sleep. And I seem to never live up to my bargain. Like if I just say, "You drive 3 hours, I'll drive 4." It's a 7-hour trip. I'll take the extra. I get to like hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm like, Sharon, honey, what? I'm like, I'm hitting the wall. There's a few bad words in there. You got to be, you know, kidding me. And I'm like, no, I always know I don't know about other people. I always know when I'm hitting that wall is when the road looks like it's like I'm driving uphill. Yet it's a even road, but to me it starts to look like I'm driving uphill. And I know, oh boy,
you definitely
in trouble.
Gotta stop when you're feeling like that, because it's pretty dangerous out there, you know. But yeah, I mean, I used to drive, you know, 5-6 hours with no problem, and now definitely would need to kind of split that up or make a stop or two, you know.
Yeah, no doubt. So you got the survey, I got the survey. Probably a lot of people in this chat room, maybe people not in the chat room, are listening to this as a podcast afterwards. We got this PSA survey. Pretty a lot of questions. I kept answering the questions. They warned you. I don't want to like throw them under the bus. They said, "Hey, this will take about 15 minutes." But a lot of questions. I felt like it was like a race that would would never end. And but the one thing that you could read between the lines, kind of things they were thinking about implementing. One of those is card cleaning on cards you're subbing. Now that's something I do myself, Orlando. I'll take a microfiber cloth, especially if it's a chrome or any kind of glossy card, very gently, just kind of wipe any fingerprints off and that sort of thing. Um, I don't know. I guess to each their own. If someone wants to pay for the service, who am I to say, like, bad on you or whatnot? But kind of, what was your thoughts with some of the stuff on that survey and maybe even the card cleaning uh,
Well,
uh, topic
the card
itself?
cleaning to me, I'm assuming it's just going to be a micro cloth just to wipe dust off, things like that. I'm hoping that it's not that they're going to be spraying something on there or, doing any more than that. But, you never know because, some of these guys, Mr. Minty or whatever, they'll go ahead and
Some of
put,
these names too are
yeah,
hilarious.
they'll go ahead and put a little bit of, juice on there, and that is something that I'm against. You know,
Yeah,
I,
I
I mean, yeah,
likewise.
everybody has to wipe the car, try to clean it and stuff like that. With a micro, with a little thing, that's fine. But once you start adding something to the card, that's where it worries me. And I
Yep.
don't know. I mean, you can do that yourself. Why would you pay for
Yeah.
them to do it unless you
Yeah.
feel that if they clean it, they're going to kind of guarantee a better grade, you never know. Maybe they say,
Yeah.
okay, you pay that
Yeah.
extra. Well, maybe, we'll make sure we bump it up a little bit.
It's like slipping the maitre d at 20 and you get the
Exactly.
nice
That's my
table by the
concern,
window.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
you said it right. That's something I do now. Like I don't know, man. I hope I don't make anyone mad saying this. Like, how busy are you that you'd like want to throw someone $5 to do that? Like, I enjoy the process of the submission of when I'm grading cards. I enjoy going through that
mhm.
initial stack and putting on these glasses
Yeah,
right
and looking
here.
at it at all the
You know,
logos
putting
and
on
looking
these
at,
glasses,
yeah.
and hey, does this make the cut? And so that stack of original 60 cards is now 35, and now I want to look at them a second run through. Maybe that 35 becomes 25, and then I wipe them. The ones that are definitely going, then I'll wipe them down if they're wipeable
Yeah, I
type
mean,
cards. Like,
if it's got like a little gum things maybe, and then you look at it and it's got, just wipe it a little bit like that. And I'm okay with
yeah,
that kind of stuff. And yeah, you do that maybe in the back, just kind of make sure it doesn't have any little dust spots or stuff like that.
yeah. Or even
But
sometimes when they cut, everyone knows this that's been in the hobby. Sometimes when they cut these sheets, especially on that vintage wax, the stuff we just opened, sometimes the extra debris gets in there, and
right.
it's on the card. So just wiping that stuff off, or even I don't want even like a frayed edge. There's nothing wrong with the card. It's just a little extra part of the card. You can just kind of whisk
Yeah, you
that
can just kind of go like that and
away.
just take it off,
Yeah, I enjoy.
and that's
I,
fine.
I
I don't have a problem with
yeah,
that.
I don't know about you. I don't know about I sort of enjoy doing that. I guess some people maybe don't enjoy it as much as I do. Orlando maybe, and I get it. To each their own. But I enjoy that whole process of getting down to like, hey, these are going, whether it be for in my case PSA or SGC. These are going to get graded, and but I guess other people press for time. Like, hey, I just look at these, clean them, do it, send them back in encapsulated, and then you know, I just enjoy the whole process, and even doing the bulk subbing, which I do now on behalf of SGC. I'm looking at 400 to 500 cards that are not mine. I'm not doing the whole cleaning. That's something that the individual subber is doing. But I enjoy seeing the cards and getting them all packaged up and that whole process. They're not even my cards. You know what I mean? Some of them are. I mean, I'm in on the sub,
Yeah.
but 95% of the sub is not mine. So I enjoy that whole process. And so But again, maybe people have less time. Maybe people don't trust themselves to, I get that because I've had people ask me, like, how do you do this? What do you recommend? What do I use? What kind of, do I use a piece of tissue, a paper towel? They really don't like, um, uh, a sanitizing wipe. Like, and I'm like, no, that's wet. It's going to like,
Yeah, just a
uh,
microfiber
yeah,
cloth,
just a
all you need.
microfiber. I tell them the thing
That's
if
it.
you have glasses, the thing you'd wipe your lenses with, because you don't want to
Exactly.
scratch your lenses. You don't want to scratch, just like you don't want to
But you
scratch.
still you still got to be careful using that because sometimes it could get a little corner stuck or something. So you got to be real careful with that
Yeah.
too, you know. But
Yep.
there's no problem with that. I think everybody uses it. Everybody, at least when I'm going to submit something, I'll pre-grade it myself and I'll take a real
Yep.
good look at it. And I don't want dust on that card, or I don't want any little thing that could get stuck on it. Sometimes you do have maybe a little bit of wax from the pack, and if you can take it off with the microfiber, that's okay.
Yeah. And here's the other thing, and I think you'll agree with me, Orlando, and the guys in chat. Like, I enjoy that process, and I take pride. Like, hey, I think this is going to get this number grade, and you take pride in like doing the pre-grading yourself. Like, how close was I? Did I undergrade my card? Did I overgrade my card? Right. And
Hmm.
then when you're right on, or even if you undergrade, like, hey, I think this is a 6, and you get a 7, you're like, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, you take pride. I know it's kind of sounds silly, like you hit a home run, and I take pride in that. But you know what I mean? That I kind of figured it right. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I enjoy that process.
you learn a lot doing that. You almost become a grader after you do so many of them. You pretty much can look at it and tell, the centering, how they're going to do that, and the card is well registered, and with some of the vintage cards, and you could kind of, once you do a few hundred cards like that,
Oh
you
yeah.
kind of really could even do a better job sometimes than PSA with some of their graders. You can kind of
Yep.
tell. So
It's
I'm
it.
pretty accurate when it comes down to
Yeah.
grading.
Well, yeah.
Usually
You've
what
done
I
this
think
one.
it is, I'm usually within a grade or so.
Yeah.
That way, yeah.
It's funny because with these bulk subs I do, I'm at the show and I have a table which is just, it's not even my stuff. It's for bulk subbing for SGC, and then I have my two tables. But I've done it now 2 years, so I've gotten to know people, and they're like, John, what do you think this gets? And I'll look at, I'm like, listen, I'm not the grader. This is just for what it's worth, right? It's my 2 cents. This is what I think it is, right? And they say, okay, well, I'm subbing it.
Hmm.
Let's see. Let's see. If they agree, they'll say, yeah, I think it's a 4 or 5 too. And then we see what it comes back, and if we're right.
Yeah.
Sometimes the person will disagree with me. I'll be like, I think it's a 3, 3.5. And like, oh man, I was thinking a 4 with a really dark horse chance at a 5. I'm like, I hope you're right. I hope you get the
Yeah.
highest grade,
And
but you're
John,
asking me. And
I buy a lot of raw cards myself and get
yeah,
them graded. And the more
yeah,
you learn about the grade, self grading like that, the better you can get at determining something. And you could
yeah,
buy a raw card for $10, and it could
yeah,
come out
and
being a
and
7 or an 8, and it's a
it's like a
couple $100
lottery
card.
ticket, man. You scratch it and you
It
get a
is.
winner.
It is. And
You know,
I've gotten a lot of those. I mean, one of the big ones that I got one day is I bought a raw 69 Johnny Bench. And to me, I thought I could get an 8 out of it. And it came out at 8.5. And I
wow,
was like, wow, and I got that card pretty cheap. And now it's like $1,000 card. So
yeah,
you can really, if you really know what you're doing, you really take a good look at it. Again, measure it up also, make sure it's the right size so you don't get
yeah,
a minimum size. I've gotten a
yeah,
couple of those also, but for the most
yeah,
part, if you get good at that, you could really, hit the lotto, like you said earlier.
yeah, and it's fun, right? That whole process is
Yeah.
fun, right? Especially if you get in where it's didn't break the bank to start with, and then like you said, you hit an 8.5 when you were been ecstatic with an 8. It's even kind of like bonus, right?
Hmm.
Going back, I want to just touch. I don't want to talk about it super long, but some of these cleaning services with using chemicals. I know you mentioned. Here's the thing with chemicals, because people ask me like, John, what if it's safe? Like, but how do we know, like in 10 years, what that chemical is going to do?
Exactly.
Well, perfect examples, Top's Finest, right? When we were opening Top's Finest in 1993, we didn't know that many years later they were going to just naturally turn green just from light exposure, right? We don't know what some of these chemicals. Maybe right now there's no nothing happening to them, but maybe over years that chemical is going to that reaction is going to take the years to kind of settle in. So I just don't like using foreign substances other than maybe this on
Mm.
and even that, you have different acids in your
Yeah.
saliva.
Don't
uh
do it. Don't do it.
yeah, I tend not to. So like I don't trust that stuff. And now you're hearing some of these grading card companies, Orlando, they're looking into different processes to detect those chemicals, to say that they're looking at those chemicals as altering chemicals. So if they design, whether it's a UV light or a black light or some kind of light that can detect, like, hey, there's been a chemical added to the film of
Hmm.
this, and now this
Yeah.
card's going to get that designation of like clean card,
Altered. Yeah.
yeah, altered or illegally clean card. That's it. You know what I mean? And so something else to think about.
Well, and some of those chemicals, they may not have something today, but they may have something that you could smell it, or some machine that can kind of smell the card,
Yeah,
and that
Mike.
chemical is in there.
Yeah. Well, Mike Petty says, chromium itself
Yeah.
it has, and then you add this other chemical, there could be a reaction. It may not even be an immediate reaction. It may be one of those over time things. And so
Yeah.
I just not my thing. When I've seen like you're on Facebook and you see the ad for them, I just skip it. It's
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to that extent. I mean, these guys are setting up at shows too, and people are bringing their cards up
Hmm.
to these tables and having these folks work on their cards, if you will. And
Well, I shared that I bought a couple cards that were they were apparently removed from a scrapbook, and the glue was removed, and
yeah,
eventually it, the stain came back, and they were graded. When I first got them, they were graded, and the back was nice and clean. And after about 5, 6 years, now the stain came back, and that grade on that card is not what it
yeah,
is now.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
I'm kind of stuck with them because I don't want to sell them.
yeah.
Because they're not going to grade what the grade says anymore, because the stain kind of came back. So you just never know what happens over the years.
Yeah,
So
you can't. And some of these, like I'll show you this one. I just happen to have it right near me. This is from Jefferson Burdick's scrapbook, and it's an old 1880s honest cut. It's an actress card,
yeah,
1880s, but it's from Jefferson Burdick. Used to glue his cards into a scrapbook. So look at the back. They got a
yeah.
one. It's an SGC one. I knew that going in. It's not, for this. It's just a kind of a cool
Hmm.
conversation piece. But
Yeah,
there's the back of that card. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So, um, that's you can't get that stuff off.
No.
Like you said, maybe even if you got it off for the moment, something will. It's almost impossible. I don't want to say
You could only
impossible, but
you
pretty
could only
close.
get it off with some type of chemical.
Yeah,
Just soaking it in water is not going to do it for something like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, not my stuff. Not my thing. I don't partake in that.
Yeah.
I know. I've had. I don't want to say debates or. I don't get too worked up about it, but people say, John, you know, they restore, uh, paintings in the art world, and it's looked at as a beautiful thing and a good thing, but these are two different things. That's you're comparing apples to oranges. You know what I mean? So I don't buy that, and if the art world accepts that, then that's their space. I just don't think I think the majority of hobbyists don't accept
No.
trimming and altering. Yeah, there's going to be a few, right? Because they're going to benefit from that. Sure, they're going
Yeah,
to
I
be like,
mean
I
the
approve.
Wagner,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
restored, but it is marked as restored.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's fine if you want to do it and say, hey, I restored this card. As long as you if people know what has been done to that card, that's fine. If it's been
I
trimmed,
think
if
if
they
see
sell
if
it
you
as
agree with
trimmed, you know.
see if you agree with this, Orlando. I think if you ask from the general population, if you ask 100 hobbyists, is if you can trim and alter a card and make it better, do you consider that acceptable and legal? I would say minimum 70 people would say no, and then whatever that, maybe more.
Yeah, I don't want it. I wouldn't want it.
Yeah,
You know,
I nope, nope.
I
So
want the
I
card
just
as it was, how it came out. And some of
yep,
them
yep,
are going to be minimum size, and that's the way they were cut from the factory. Something
yep,
like that, fine. My 52 mantle is minimum size, and that's the way it came
yep,
out. That's the way it is, and it was confirmed by SGC, so that's okay. But I
yep,
know it is. But when it's
yep.
trimmed and they try to sneak it in as not or something like that,
If
then
you're
that's a
going to
different
start
issue.
cutting cards and rolling cards out to
No.
flatten out with creases and make the card stock there, at that point, to me, Orlando, just reprint the card. If you're looking for like, what are you doing? Like you're changing the composition of the card. You're thinning
Yeah.
the original card stock.
It's
You're
not how it came
cutting
out of the
it.
pack. I don't
Yeah,
want
you
that.
might at that point just make a reprint and make it a
Yeah.
perfect 10,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's how I look at it. You just
Yeah.
alter it that much. So I think we're both waving the same pennant there. All
Let's
right,
open some
let's
packs.
go. Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you. I went first last time. You go first
I'll go
with your
first.
two this time.
So I've got a 92 Stadium Club pack, and I'm going to open up
I'm a
here.
big Stadium Club
I
guy.
love the
I love
Stadium
Stadium.
Club.
Yeah,
I
me
have a whole
too.
box of these that
Yeah.
I still have there, and I just got to pull the pack out of this. So let's see what we got here.
The sweet sound of cellophane.
Yeah, we got Chris James.
Oop, upside down.
Yep. You got Jeff Ballard.
Yeah.
Oh, these are going to be all upside down here.
Yeah, that was one thing with Stadium Club. They like alternated them every other
And they're
card.
kind of get stuck.
Oh yeah, they
Ron
brick up.
Ron
They brick up.
Robertson. We got Jeff Branson. I love these pictures though on these cards though. They're
Yeah,
just
the
beautiful
photography
cards.
is
Yeah.
is the best stuff.
Corey Snyder. Okay, it's kind of backwards here. Let's
Well,
see.
Glenn Davis and Corey Snyder cards are like you're a magnet
Yeah.
for those.
Greg Vaughn. He was a pretty good hitter back then.
Yep, hit some moonballs.
Floyd Bannister.
Yeah, he pitched for a lot of teams.
Yeah. We got Bobby Witt.
Yeah, his son. You might have heard of his son. He's
Yeah.
not doing too bad.
And I like these because they've got the rookie cards on the back.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I always thought that was a nice touch.
Leo Gomez.
Yeah.
Bob Zupsik.
Yeah,
Not
he
doing too
didn't.
good with this.
Yeah, well, he didn't play very long, so
no, you got
I'll
the
stick up for you.
92 club membership where you can mail it in and get your little club membership. I've got Dave Martinez.
Yep, now the manager.
Yep. I got Tom Edens. Not a good pack again. Glenn Davis.
Wait, what is it with you and Glenn?
I think that's the third one I pulled already.
Yeah, it is the third one you pulled. You've had one in every pack so far.
I know. I got Joe Hesketh.
Yep.
And I've got Steve Howe.
Oh yeah, Mr. 8 chances to
Not
keep coming back to baseball.
not good
All
on
right,
that.
open that last one.
Now this last one, in honor of the Florida Panthers, it's a hockey pack.
There you
So it's the
go.
first year of Stadium Club hockey. So I figured
You're still gonna get a Glenn Davis card in there
yeah,
somehow,
right.
some way.
If I do, I'll eat the gum from the last pack. All right, let's see who we got on here. We got Randy Moeller.
Yep, Ranger.
Hockey, yeah.
Have fun with some of these names too.
Oh God. Rick Natress. I've got oh no, John Oglodnik.
Ojic, is it Ojic?
Yeah, I guess that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got Todd Ellick. Let's see, Stephen.
We need a Gretzky.
Stephen Morin, yeah, hopefully. Oh, forget this guy, Mike Krushnelski. Can you pronounce that? Well, that's oh, this is the kind of like a little insert card which says to get a hockey book. It's kind of like a little comic thing in there. I've got Peter Ing.
Yeah.
Stephen Mateo. Oh, here's a name I know. Ron Tugnut.
Yep. Yep. Goalie.
Dmitry Christoph.
Yeah.
Christich. Joey Koser.
Oh yeah, he's a Ranger. He was a fighter. He was kind of one of the enforcers.
And Dave Lowry. So no Gretzky
go.
Out of that.
No Gretzky, no Lemieux.
No luck, no nothing. Just another bad pass.
Well, at least you didn't get a Glenn Davis in the. All right, so I'll close it out with an 87 Donruss here. I opened one of these a few shows back. It was one of the I'll probably jinx myself. It was one of the worst 87 Donruss packs I ever opened. So
it couldn't be worse than the ones I pulled.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Puzzle piece. Tommy Herr. Rick Sutcliffe. Another Willie Upshaw. Pulled him in the other pack. Man, this is the same as that 87 Topps pack. Mark Bailey, who I pulled in the other pack.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah. Here's Tony Phillips. Bob Shirley. Real quick story with Bob Shirley. I'll make this fast. He was the pitch. Here he is as a player for the Yankees. He was a pitching coach for the Syracuse Chiefs back when I played high school here. And we had a practice at where the Chiefs played, and he actually threw our team some batting practice. So I actually got the hit off Bob Shirley back in '89, if my memory's right. So a couple years after that, that's probably one of his last cards as a player. Milt Thompson. Oh, here we go. Not the next card, even more so. Frank Viola. One of my favorite guys, man. One of the greatest hitters to ever live. Tony Gwynn.
There you go. Winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah. Dave Kingman, Kong, played for the Mets many years. I watched him. They'd lose, and he'd hit 2 home runs.
Yeah.
Chuck Finley. Not Glenn Davis, but Storm Davis. Rafael Ramirez. Yeah, another Hall of Famer, the kid, Gary Carter. And last but not least, Alan Anderson. So at least this beat the other 87 Donruss pack I opened about a month ago. So I won't complain. I won't complain too much. I don't know. It's always fun to to rip that and remember, that was 87. That was 15-year-old me ripping those, and here we are, 37 years later, doing it. Doing it again, and you never know. It's always fun, and there are some cards in there. In the 87s, the bonds, you could have hit the bonds. So Maddox's
Yeah.
potential in the
I mean, the
87.
thing, the thing with these sets that they were
Oh,
so huge, all of those cards. I mean, they had what 700 cards per set, 700
yeah,
cards. So
yeah. They forget
it
about
was,
that.
yeah, it was tough to get a good
Yeah,
hit, to get the Conseco's out of there and stuff like that.
yeah, no doubt. Well, Orlando, we went 5 minutes overtime. I'm not watching the clock when you're on. And listen, I know I speak again for a lot of people. This was a blast, man. It's good to see you. Here we're 60 days away. I'll see you in
Yeah.
person and give you a big hug, I'm sure. And and we'll have to share things we picked up towards the back end of the show. I either get something early or at the last minute. Never in between. It's one or the other. It's usually later than earlier. So last year I did a better job. I went in there to get a Tom Seaver rookie, and I got it on my second day there. And I always feel like,
Hmm.
even though it's pressure we put on our own selves, I always feel like I'm under the gun, like to get, I kind of go to the National to get one or two bigger type cards, if you will. And bigger,
Yeah.
everyone's definition of bigger, it could be different. It could be, for some it's $100, for some it's $1,000, whatever it is. No one's wrong, no one's right. It's just whatever budgets allow and discretionary income. But last year I did a little bit better job than the previous year. So
Yeah, a lot of
I'm
times you don't want to rush it too much, because there's going to be so many dealers and so many cards there. But if you
yeah.
find the right one, that's the one you really think is the right one for you, go for it because it may not be there when you come back.
Yeah, yeah. See, I'm the guy. I sort of like to walk around as much as I can first and
Me
check
too.
all the cards and the prices and make notes.
Yeah,
Like,
that's me.
hey, that's table 11163 has it for this, and you know. But like you said, on certain cards, if it's a tougher, harder to find card, and you like the price, you might not want to wait. So it's a
Mhm.
good piece of advice, and we'll kind of close with that. But Orlando, as always, it's great to see you. We'll see you back on the Hobby Hotline. Not tomorrow, but the following week. We'll be back together. I'm hosting that
Mhm.
episode, so we'll do this different show, but we'll be back on the air
Right.
again. And I know your own stuff
Yep.
as well. So awesome seeing you, man. And
Thank you, John.
thank,
Appreciate you having me on. I always enjoy
no,
talking to you, and we could talk for hours, but
yeah, we could do a 3 hour
show
show. I
is
don't know.
ending. Yeah.
We would have fun. I don't know about everyone else, but we would enjoy it
Yeah.
for sure. So, all right, Orlando. Thanks, bud.
Thank you, my friend.
Take care.
See ya.